You should have your notes with you, the ones that say probability of events, 1A. And I'm going to go through the definitions of these and give you some examples. So let's look at the first definition, which is impossible. Impossible means that there's a 0% chance of something happening. In other words, it's an event that can't happen. So something that can't happen is impossible. And let's use spinners as an example of this. So we have a spinner that's numbered 1 through 4, and you can see that it would be impossible to spin a 5. So that's an example of something that has an impossible likelihood. Moving on to unlikely. Unlikely means that there's less than a 50% chance of happening, but more than a 0% chance. So it might happen, but it probably won't. And an example of that, again, would be with our spinner. We can take a look. Again, it's numbered 1 through 4, and we want to land on a 2. So the likelihood of landing on a 2 would be 1 out of 4, which would be 25%. So it falls between that 0 to 50%. So this is unlikely. Moving on, a 50% chance of something happening. That is as likely as not. Basically, that just means if someone asks you what's the chance of that happening, and you say, 50-50. You've heard that. And what that means is there's a 50% chance of something happening and a 50% chance of it not happening. And again, let's look at the spinner for an example. And there's our spinner, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this time, what's the probability of landing on an even number? Well, there's 2 even numbers, 2 out of 4. 50%, so this is an example of as likely as not. Likely, that means that there's more than a 50% chance of something happening, but less than 100. So even though it probably will happen, there's still a chance that it might not. And again, let's look at our spinner for an example. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're looking to land on a number that's less than 4. Well, there's 3 numbers less than 4, so 3 out of 4 would be 75%. So there's a real good chance that we would get one of those numbers, but there's still that chance that we might not. Finally is certain, and that's a 100% chance of happening. It's definitely going to happen. And let's look at the spinner for that example. And there you see our 4 numbers again. And this time, what's the probability of spinning a number that's greater than 0? Well, they're all greater than 0, so no matter what number we land on, it will be greater than 0, so it's certain. And that's it. Hopefully you got all those. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask your teacher.